64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 11. Titus Andronicus, Ecce Homo.
All right, so we're back with another episode of Is This Song Good? Tonight's episode is about the song Ecce Homo by Titus Andronicus. It's a song that I chose. Just kind of came across. I mean, I've been known about Titus Andronicus because they're one of those like sort of well-known bands in the sort of indie world. But I never really spent much time listening to them. But I came across a couple of songs just randomly listening, and it quite kind of caught my attention because it's a little bit different than a lot of stuff that you hear, at least vocally, in my opinion. But anyway, so I'll let you guys go ahead and tell me what you think.
What did you think, Zach?
I thought it was good. It's so I haven't listened to much Titus Andronicus lately. I used to listen to them a bit in 2008 when their album "The Airing of Grievances" came out. And it wasn't like I was really into them. It was mainly like what you're saying, Dan, that they're kind of an indie favorite or, something that was out there floating around. And so, I gave them a shot and I think the reason why I kind of veered off and never really kept up with it, I'd listen to a couple tracks off of whatever when a new album came out, but then just kind of left it alone. Is that the punk style doesn't really pull me in that much. I get why people like it, and there are certain types of punk or off branches of punk that I do enjoy. And maybe this is not officially punk. I don't really know how the demarcations of the different genres work. But the song is fine. I don't have any problems with it. It's just not really my type of music. I do like the aspects of it that are, it's kind of meandery. It's not really like a verse, chorus, verse type of thing. The lyrics are all over the place, which, some people might find, terrible, but I really like it. I mean, there's tons of words, and they just keep kind of, there's a new concept that's thrown in, and it's very, it's not like they're just saying exactly what they mean. There's more underneath the surface. So there, it's a good song. I enjoyed it. But it's not really my thing. I'm not really going to seek out this type of music or listen to a lot of Titus Andronicus in general.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. And I would definitely call it punk, whether it's, pure punk or not. I don't care, but it just feels like another punk song that I've already heard. I didn't, like, as I was listening to these three songs that we're doing in this recording session, I just kind of dreaded when this one would come on because it felt like I'd heard it 1,000 times, performed by a bunch of different bands, who a lot of which did it a lot better. I wasn't able to separate it from other punk music that I had heard, and maybe that's just my, listening style or what, but I don't know. It's not a song that I feel like I'm ever going to go back and listen to on purpose, because there's a lot better punk out there if I want to listen to punk. And I'm not a big punk fan to begin with. So that's kind of where it fell for me.
No,
and I can't even remember what it's called.
Yeah, no, see, because this doesn't sound to me that much like punk, other than the vocals being, kind of old school punk, and they're, not being like, in tune and stuff for often. But yeah, to me, this doesn't sound that much like punk. Traditional punk anyway. There's so many, variations on that. Because it's kind
it's
of
some
like,
dude shouting at me about God only knows what, and I don't know what I did to piss him off.
It's definitely very
but-
angsty.
But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man, but we've never even met. You know,
no,
Why are you blaming me?
no, and I think the vocals are definitely the most punk thing, and they have other songs that are much more like traditional punk. I just don't really. For me, this doesn't sound much like punk in the instrumentation, just because it's kind of more mid tempo and meandery. But which I don't know. I guess it depends what little offshoot branch of punk we're talking about, because it's such a broad term. But what I like about it is how it just kind of meanders, and lyrically it just kind of goes. It's almost stream of consciousness, but it seems to have a little bit of a purpose. But he doesn't just say all random stuff. It's all it just kind of takes all these turns and stuff. But it's like I said, I something about it. I mean, like I was talking about, last time we were talking about pretty vocals. I tend to prefer non-pretty vocals. Not always, obviously, and so I don't mind the sort of shouty, out of tuneness of that. So that doesn't bother me. I kind of, I'm not surprised that you didn't like it, Dave. But I was curious whether it would grow on you a little bit, but clearly not. clearly,
no, I couldn't.
I
I tried, but man, it was tough listening to it over and over again.
Yeah.
I like typically when we do this, I pick a song and I just listen to the song over and over while I'm sitting at the computer or something. But then this time around, I was like, well, God, I can't listen to this one over and over. So I'm going to make a playlist of the 3 songs we're doing so I can at least have them on rotation.
Oh yeah, no, I can't just listen to the same song over and over, even if I like it. I feel like that's a special.
Well, that's the thing. I can though. I'll listen to the same song 100 times in a row if I like it.
Interesting. I need a little space. So I never listen to it. Maybe twice in a row if I'm trying to sort of dial into something a little bit. But yeah, I always need a little space before I listen to it again. So yeah, that sounds kind of awful. Listen to a song you don't like over and over again. Yeah, for sure. I try not to do that.
That's the thing, though. Too. It's not that it's the worst song ever. It's perfectly fine, but it doesn't sound any. There's nothing new or interesting or I've like I said, I'm not a big punk fan to begin with, so I don't have a ton of exposure. But it seems like every punk song I hear has this guy shouting at me about God only knows what.
That's punk. A guy shouting at you is pretty much, I think, sums it up pretty accurately.
and then loud instruments in the background.
Yeah.
I will say that I enjoyed the latter third of the song where it kind of breaks down and kind of slows down or gets a little less excited, and then that last bit where he's repeating the line, what is it? Oh, I know it's nothing more than just being bored. I really liked that part of it, like the latter half of it. But yeah, for the most part, I was just kind of the same feeling as Dave. It was like, okay, this is, it's not a bad song. It's just there's nothing really grabbing me or sucking me in or making me, Yeah. Like I've said before, I like music that kind of slaps me in the face, and you would think that somebody yelling at you about stuff would slap you in the face, right. But I just didn't get that feeling from this.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of hypocritical because I'm a huge grunge fan, and there's a lot of tangents between those because there's a lot of some dude shouting at you in grunge too.
Yep.
But I don't know what the distinction is between the two, but I'm not a big punk fan. Like for me, I don't need to go beyond Green Day for punk, and I know that's blasphemy for true punk fans. But that's about as much punk as I need.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I'm not really a punk fan either. I mean, Green Day is like pop music wearing a grunge outfit, which is totally
absolutely.
But that's what makes it sort of like the Blink 182s and things like that. All that accessible, like stuff that like the true punk fans would be like, that's not even punk, man. That sort of attitude.
Right.
That's definitely super accessible, and I don't find this particularly inaccessible unless you really don't like the vocals. Which I don't know, Dave. Did you really not like the vocals? I couldn't quite.
I didn't need to hear anymore that the man wanted to yell at me.
Yeah. So I think of this. Like I said, it didn't strike me as being particularly punk sounding, other than the vocals. And I didn't mind the vocals. And what I thought was interesting was
it's punk in the way that like Offspring is punk.
Sure, yeah.
And if I was 17, maybe it would be different because I hadn't, or 15 or whatever, and I hadn't heard the Offspring already. Then maybe I would care, but I'd be interested. But man, having already heard stuff like that, and then the really good punk, and then the punk that I enjoy, like Green Day and Blink-182, like you said, and I'm throwing a huge net on punk right now. I get that. I don't need any more of this in my life.
Nope. Yeah, that's totally fine. I kind of felt like this was going to be. There were two songs I was thinking about, and one of them sort of more was a little more straightforward and less odd. Not by odd, I mean your impression of this, Dave, was basically like, this is just the same old punk song. My impression was, oh, it's interesting. This is like a punk song, except for it's kind of like not like a punk song because it's just this sort of long meandering thing that sort of like rises and swells and then sort of sinks down. But obviously to you that it just sounded like a punk song anyway. So not that really matters, whether we call it punk or not.
No,
but I thought this was
music genres are so muddied right now.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what we call stuff, know. Unless you're trying to make a list of random stuff. But what I thought was interesting about it is that it didn't follow most of the rules that punk sets out. And so that, punk, like in the 70s and 80s, I guess that it doesn't really matter now. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting, and I liked the sort of adventurousness of the lyrics and the sort of willingness to stretch it out and see where it all went. But yeah, so I after listening to it a bunch of times, in the last little bit here, because I'd only heard it a handful of times before. I still like it. I enjoyed it. It's not like the best song I've ever heard, but a lot of the things that bothered you, Dave, doesn't bother me at all. I would listen to this over Offspring any day of the week. Maybe not Green Day, because I still love Green Day, but to me, it's more interesting than the boilerplate sort of radio version of punk that you end up hearing when you don't seek punk out, which is what makes it more interesting to me and why I kind of liked it. I did like it. I mean, I didn't come out of it liking the song less than when I started. I think I like it a little bit more. I don't think it's like my new favorite band or my new favorite song, but I think it grew a little bit in my mind listening to it. So I am going to go ahead.
Just to add a little bit, I don't listen to Offspring either. If it comes on, I switch it. I have no use for Offspring either. So it's not like I'm saying this is worse than Offspring. It's just more of that I don't have any interest in listening to.
Yeah. Is this worse than some Offspring songs? Arguable. Is it worse than Pretty Fly for a White Guy? No, absolutely not.
No. All right, so Dan, I think you're going to sum it up with your vote now.
I will vote yes. I think it's a good song.
All right, I think I've made myself pretty clear that I do not think that it's a good song, and that's largely my taste. Obviously, as not a big fan of punk music to begin with.
Yeah, I'm gonna just vote yes because I'm okay with it. It's for all the reasons that Dan expressed. It's fine. I'm not gonna necessarily seek out this band as I haven't, but it's perfectly okay song. And like I said, that I really liked the latter half of it when it kind of was breaking down and doing doing some different stuff. So yeah, my vote is yes.
All right. And then Zach, we're recording your song next week.
Next week, we're doing Land of Talk. That's the name of the band. And the song is The Hate I Won't Commit.
Another one where I couldn't remember which was the band and the song title.
Yeah.
All
It gets
right.
confusing sometimes. All right.
Sounds good.
I caught it on audio.